And good morning. It's another fairly grey Thursday up here in Grantham, but it's time for another Canvas coffee and a chat with one of the fantastic people that I have had the privilege of working with for a few years. We're here this morning with Paul Towers. Good morning, Paul. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Yeah, not too bad. As you say, it's a bit rainy and cold up in the West Midlands as well this morning, but never mind.
It's one of those very British things that we do, isn't it? That we talk about the weather. It's like the first conversation that we go to. So even though we're here to talk about Canvas, education and all these really big topics, the weather's got to come into the conversation.
See, I'm a Yorkshire lad, I'm a Bradford lad, so it's generally grey there 99% of the time. So there is nothing else to talk about. But yeah, it's a bit dreary out at the moment. So, but never mind. I'm sure it'll brighten up later.
Hopefully, or it'll go rainy again just for the weekend when we decide to get the barbecues going. Thank you for taking the time to join us today, Paul. I know we've got lots of things to talk about. It's been a couple of weeks since we've had one of these live streams. We're going for people who've been watching them and watching the full series, and they've seen some of the other videos that we've had Hull College Group, we've had University College Cork on. We've got loads of live streams coming from the US, which people can access on our social media channels. But we've gone for once a fortnight now from Europe, from sunny Grantham, the most boring town in the UK, 1980. That's where we're our home for today. Okay, so what we're going to do is talk about sort of the University of Wolverhampton, which is where I've had the pleasure of working with Paul for, blimey, it was 2017 we met, wasn't it? And I think it was in the glamorous, it was more glamorous than where we are now. We were in Keystone, Colorado for InstructureCon 2017. That was the first time we met.
True, yeah.
That was
I can't say too much about it because obviously if my wife sees this, she gets very jealous about the fact that I was in Colorado for nearly a week, and then again 2018, and then Barcelona as well. So I've done a trilogy.
Yeah, it's we've done some good conferences. We're probably going to touch on some of that today in terms of the situation and the way that conferences can run now. But what I'll do is I'll hand over to you, Paul, just to give us a bit of a background about the University of Wolverhampton's journey so far, because I know that you've been doing some great things, but it'd be really good for the people that are either watching live or they're watching a recording of this, just to get a bit of a a backstory really about the University of Wolverhampton. So if I hand over to you for a few minutes.
Yeah, not a problem. So I'm an education developer in the University of Wolverhampton. I've worked there for about 13 years now, in different sort of guises as a blended learning advisor, learning technologist, whatever. Now I'm a classes and educational developer within the College of Learning and Teaching. And I thought our first slide I'd put up just about the mission statement, because obviously the university, the stuff that we're doing in terms of technology and with pedagogy within the College of Learning and Teaching obviously directly derives from a lot of the stuff that we're doing with the mission statement. So putting the students first, maximising their opportunities, and delivering outstanding education. We want to look at those sort of things. And when we, when we sort of, the old VLE that we had, WOLF, which was the Wolverhampton Online Learning Framework, one of those catchy acronyms that fell into Wolverhampton, but also WOLF, which was quite useful. It was one of the first VLEs that was pretty much on the planet. It predates Amazon. It was created in 1996, very much used as a content repository, but then started to grow over the years in terms of including some very effective interactive activities, discussions, quizzes, etc. But we knew that it wasn't sustainable, so we did a big piece regarding what do we want from a VLE? What do we want to find? We looked at the requirements. So I'll just move on to the next slide to give you a bit of a sort of rundown. So predating all this, what we did was, as I say, we did lots of focus groups. We spoke to staff and students about what they wanted from a VLE. And then we did a huge tender. So we constantly apologized to Canvas because I think it was about 400 plus questions that all the suppliers had to answer, and then we had to sift through them all. But one thing that we were specifically really proud of was the way we evaluated the final suppliers. My colleague John Rhodes pretty much designed the whole of the evaluation, and we really wanted to instill that this was going to be a system that was going to be owned and used by our academic staff and students. So they were the ones that actually made the final decision. They were the ones that were part of the evaluation. We had about 80 people in the room when we did the demos, and all those 80 people would actually score the final 3. So then from February, I think from April 2016, we actually signed with yourselves, with Canvas. We haven't really looked back ever since, really. We did, it's been a really fantastic 4 years. I think the project really set us up to do some really nice, effective things within Canvas and changing the way we deliver content within our learning and teaching with our modules. So from September 2016, we did a big early adopter year. We had 90 modules and 21 programs and roughly about 1,000 students right across the university. And that was a fantastic experience in terms of finding out what they wanted to do and how they wanted to do things within Canvas, but then also we could feed that into the remaining project when we actually rolled it out live. January 2017, all staff had access to Canvas. And something that we also included was every staff member would have a blank Canvas course. So it was automatically created. If you're a new member of staff or if you're an existing member of staff, you'd have a blank Canvas course where you could play, build, create, but in that safe environment that no one else could get access to it. You could then obviously bring in stuff from your blank canvas into your modules if you wanted to, but it gave them a great place to actually have a play. And it also meant that we had a great training aid. So when we delivered training both face-to-face and online, we have an area where we can utilize. And then from September 2017, the university launched with Canvas. So right across the board, all staff and students were using Canvas from then on, and it's been really good. We've had some positive success. We've got it deeply integrated with our SIT system, and we're even doing more things with that, which I'll come on to later on. And just sort of continuing that work, and then COVID-19 happened.
I was just going to say, actually, that sort of blank canvas course thing that you talk about, I think it's something that isn't necessarily sort of emphasized too much sort of to begin with. Sometimes sometimes when, like you said, you've moved from Wolf, which is your learning platform, and I remember the conversations about that. I can remember talking about Wolves as well. I live in Grantham, which is near Nottingham, so as a Nottingham Forest fan and Wolves, there was always that rivalry there. But ultimately,
you might need to explain to the American audience that's football, by the way, as well.
Football. Sorry, soccer. If we're going down that bit, it's fun as we are where we're located at the moment. But obviously with the work we do and the team that I work in Structure, we do go out to a lot of universities who are moving from one platform to another. And sometimes, I think it's a thing, isn't it? There's an opportunity there when change takes place. And, and it can be seen as efficient and the quick thing just to move content straight over and go through sort of a migration of your content like that. But all educate and the teachers, sometimes giving them that opportunity of a blank canvas, as you've described it, the opportunity to play and see what's possible. It means they can start to look for the new ways and the innovative ways to sort of to change the way that they're teaching and basically maybe improve the curriculum that you're delivering. So I think that's something that's often missed, and that comes down to messaging, doesn't it? You can do this, but here you go. Here's another opportunity.
what we did at the very beginning is something that we're really quite proud about. So what we said all the way through, that this was a cultural change project, and it was going to be focusing on pedagogy rather than technology. We didn't want to bring in something shiny that we were going to do the same things that we've done in Wolf, but in Canvas. So the first thing we actually did was Canvas for Learning sessions, where we sat discipline staff in a room. We didn't have any technology other than obviously the projector, and we asked them, what do they want to do with a VLE? How do they want to teach? How do they currently teach? How do they want to assess? And what do they want the students to do? And it gave them an opportunity to actually, everyone's so busy, even just all the time in higher education. So to actually sit down with your colleagues and go, right, let's rip up the playbook. Let's start afresh. Let's talk about pedagogy. Let's talk about what are learning outcomes. What do we need to do? And how can technology support that? And then from those discussions, we would then do a customized demonstration for that particular subject. So whether it be in art or engineering or nursing or paramedic or microbiology, you name it, we do a customized demonstration to say, right, everything that you've listed there and what you want to do with your students and how you want to assess, you can do it here in Canvas. And that was their first opening of Canvas. We didn't actually sit them down with laptops until later on when we gave them training. And the idea was not only to focus on that, this was going to be a change. We weren't going to go back to what we were doing with Wolf. This was something different. It was to change the pedagogy, change learning and teaching. But also, it gave them the idea that, right, okay, this is what I learned in that Canvas for Learning session. Okay, this is what I want to do. So when I come to my training, I can focus on those bits, because Canvas is so huge. Like any system these days, there's so many features that can go with it. You can get lost in what you want to try and do and trying to achieve, and your goal becomes almost diluted. Whereas because we focused on the pedagogy, they still had that in their heads. So when they came to training, it was right, I want to do video and audio feedback, show me that. I want to do discussions where I can bring it back into the classroom or whatever it might be. And that was really helpful.
Okay, it's cool. I'm noticing actually we've got some, quite a few people online at the moment, and we've got some questions from Mark who's coming in about the training plans. What we'll do is we'll let you talk through. Actually, let's answer that question now, just to see how you've approached this. So Mark's question was, what would be your advice for creating a robust training plan for staff to engage with it? So how did you make sure your training plan was robust enough for all those staff that you were bringing on board? Once you'd done your pilot and you were going live across, a large organization.
Well, the first thing is obviously what you just touched on. Because we had that early adopter year, we put things in place. We designed a training plan that was not only improved by our academic board, but we also had a group of not just project team, but also wider community, where we could showcase our training plans, our processes, our migration plan, you name it. And it was made up of academics right across the university. So when they had sight of the training plan very early on, and because it was the early adopters that would be utilizing that, we could also garner some feedback from them that would then modify the training plan going through. We were very fortunate enough as well to have, I managed 4 digital ambassadors at the start of the project. Now, the digital ambassadors were 4 graduate interns. So they just finished their university degree. We employed them for about, I think overall about 1.5 years, and they would pretty much deliver the training plan. So face-to-face, online, utilizing social media. They would also do at-elbow support, which we didn't really sort of have within the university with sort of those sort of learning technologies beforehand. So they would actually get a call through or an email through. They rock up at the person's door and just walk them through what they need to do. And that could be either on an individual basis, or we could do it on a whole module team as well. And then we'd obviously deliver sort of the sort of more structured training, which would be about, preparing for September. So what are the key things you need to do? And these 4 digital ambassadors were fantastic. They really supported the project. And to be honest, it also opened up the university to encourage more graduate interns to do these sort of things, because they were such a brilliant group of people, and they really supported the training plan. But I think because we had the support of the academic board and the project team, they viewed the training plan first. We had the early adopters as, I don't want to call them guinea pigs because that's not fair, but they were pioneers. I hate the term guinea pigs. It's not fair for them, but they were pioneers, and they wanted to do. They gave feedback on how our training was, which then we could adapt for the full rollout as well.
Yeah, I think, I'd agree with you completely there. When you use the term pioneers, I like that as well. I've seen that used in some of the other organisations that we're working with at the moment. And I think, that's one of the really important things, isn't it, in the rollout and that sense of it with your training plan. You can do button training. It's easy enough. Canvas is intuitive. You can do that if you want to, but the focus on the pedagogy that you've spoken about is key. But the other thing is to learn from those people that are using it, and like you say, find out the way that they want to teach, the way that the sort of the culture of your organization, how that sort of aligns with the tools that you're looking to bring in, and then basically put in opportunities to learn from those people, and then share those success stories and the concrete examples that they have, isn't it? We can't possibly know every subject and be the specialist, can we, when we're going out to work with these academics? They are the absolute world leading experts in their fields a lot of the time, and they know what's best. What we've got to do is work out how to basically align with them, isn't it, with the tools where it can enhance and help them make the decisions. And to be honest, they're the best people to know those sort of options, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. And ultimately, the other thing that we didn't want to have is champions, as it were. So, Canvas champions that were, because what you find with champions in many scenarios is, oh, so-and-so's a champion, I'll go ask her and they can help me out. But the problem is with that is it never, if they have a particular issue, or if it's a pattern of issues that we don't see that, because they just go ask their colleague. So we wanted, the early adopters in some ways did become champions, but not in the sense of, oh, I'm going to go ask Stephen to help me with my Canvas. We wanted them to use the support that was there, so then we could feed it back into the project and say, what, we really want, we're getting a lot of questions about, utilizing pages, right? Okay, let's put some more training on, or let's do some videos about pages as well. So it would always, I think Gareth Kirk, who was our project manager, who was brilliant. I think you mentioned it quite a lot about closing the loop, trying to go back and make sure that, just reiterate, are you okay? Everything fine? We've answered that issue. Can we move on? And that sort of thing. So yeah, that works really well.
Cool. No, thank you for that. And I think Mark, he said pedagogy first always with this. Okay, let's talk about a bit more detail about some of the projects then that you've been doing. So what we'll do is I'll give you access back to your screen again to be on there. One thing I've noticed actually, can you hide your stop sharing button at the top? Don't click the stop sharing though. Is there a hide option next to it? Yeah, okay, that. And then people that are online can read the comments that we've got at the bottom there. So we've gone through the story of how we've got to the full university launch of Canvas. It would be really good to see, and hear about some of the successful projects and some of the, the innovative things you've been doing. And then later on, what we'll do is we'll talk about your plans moving forward.
Yeah, sure. So I'll just quickly share this slide just so I remember what. So the previous stuff what we'll be doing. So I'm going to talk about, I can talk about EMA, the EMA project, electronic management assessment project, in terms of when it's going to be rolled out a little bit later on. I'll touch on that. So in terms of what we've been doing, obviously since 2017, 3 years ago, that seems crackers that it's 3 years ago. My daughter's now 3. She was born just at the same time we was doing the Canvas for Learning sessions. So that was a really interesting time, rolling out a massive piece of software and becoming a new dad. Yeah, that was, yeah, don't recommend that.
No, becoming a dad is quite good fun, you know.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's become a three-nager, as we like to call her at the moment. So,
I like that too.
Yeah. So we're obviously staff development training plans, always trying to look for new and exciting ways to deliver training. We've done a lot of stuff on social media previously. We did the what was it now? The 24 days of Canvasmas. So we did 24 tips throughout Christmas period on Canvas, and we got videos of staff telling them their best bits of using Canvas. Again, the DAs would support that as well and roll that through and deliver the training that we need to do. We've got 2 fantastic CEDA accredited courses that we teach on within the College of Learning Teaching, Digital Transformations and Learning Tutor Online, which I'll show in a moment. We do a Kudos process, which is tied to the HCA, so Associate Fellowship and Senior Fellowship. This is all done via Canvas, and it's been now headed up by my line manager, James Pearson Jenkins. And he's done an amazing job in terms of creating that Canvas course. So it's a really clear process of what an applicant needs to do, how they get the references, because it can be, it's difficult thing to write is the HEA, and it just gives them support. So if I just close that, let's just show you some examples of these sort of things as we go through. So can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can do that. What I'll do is I'll just make that go full screen for everybody, so they've got that, so they don't see our beautiful faces on the camera for a few moments. They'll just see the whole screen. Yeah. So
this is our Learn to Tutor Online. We've just finished the Learn to Tutor Online course for this for the March intake, and we're hoping to do more, potentially maybe one in the summer, but certainly in September as well. And it's pretty much been designed by my colleague John Rhodes, who's done a fantastic work on this. And it's all about supporting the academics to do exactly what it says, to learn to tutor online. But it's not about the button pushing. It's about looking at things like icebreakers, looking at how to build a community, the best practice in terms of reflection, how to incorporate different pedagogy styles within a online environment. Because online teaching it's not the same as face-to-face. It's completely different. And it just gives them the understanding of to go through this online course as a student would. So they are all students in this course, and they see the benefit of these sort of things because they understand some of the challenges a student will face when they're delivering an online course, or when the student is actually doing an online course. So I'm just going to show you my wonderful colleagues' faces. So John, as I say, who's pretty much designed the Learn to Tutor Online course. He's been running for a number of years in the previous BLE, and certainly now with Canvas. Laura Marston, who's also teaching on it, Gemma, and then my ugly mug at the end as well. So, and it's each week there's a dedicated reflection that the students need to put in, which I won't go into to show you at the moment, because obviously they're reflections and they're personal. And then we give them feedback, video and audio feedback, and we get them to try different things, different developments that they want to sort of look at. So that's one of our CEDA courses. The digital transformation. Sorry, go on.
So I was just going to talk about that. I like that with the, emphasizing the idea about the icebreakers there and that side of things. And your comment there about online, it is very different, isn't it? If we think about our students when they do come into I taught in secondary school, when they came into my classroom to begin with, and it's the first time that they're working with you, it does take a bit of time in the classroom, for some students to feel comfortable. And that's obviously going to be the same at university as well, a completely different experience maybe to what they had at school. And, when you've got the people there and you're physically together in a room, you can, it still takes a little bit of time for people to feel comfortable to participate, isn't it, I suppose. And when you go online as well, it is very easy to, I suppose, and I think we see this, that just present content. Here you go. This is what you've got to learn. And actually, we might be missing that sort of opportunity of how do we create that space where people feel comfortable participating, and how do we make them feel comfortable collaborating with other people or challenging other people about their thoughts and that side of things. So I really think, that's something, to emphasize, and I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. The digital transformation one is a way of, for the digital transformation course is the idea behind it, it's a longer course. I think it's a 12-week course in total, but the idea behind it is the academics who are students take an element of what they do, their learning and teaching, and utilize the technology that we have in the university. So it could be an element of Canvas, it could be Panopto, our lecture capture system, or it could be completely different. But it's the idea that they do something, they try it with the students, they get feedback, but it opens them up to think, well, give it a go, give these small things a go. And we've always said these sort of technologies and learning tutor online and online lecturing is certainly a marathon. It's not a sprint, and you've got to develop things over time. And things might not work, the first time round, but you need to evaluate why that might be and change the process as well. So those are our sort of two courses there. We have as I mentioned earlier, we have our HEA application process completely done on Canvas now. I say James has done a fantastic job with this in terms of building the Canvas course and having it available. So not only can the applicants see all the information, they can get all the information they need, but they can also submit directly onto this course as well at key points. So I'm a reviewer and also a mentor for the application for the Kudos scheme, and it's one of the most joyful benefits of my job actually is the Kudos scheme, because you read the submissions and you read some of the wonderful things that our academics are doing for their application, and it's we try to then get those applications and encourage them to either write journals or case studies, or even feed it back to the faculty's learning and teaching conferences that they deliver as well. So that's really good. I'm
just thinking one thing, Paul. Quite a lot of the people that we get watching the sessions, they're not based sort of in the UK. Okay. I've actually not a question for people to put in the comments. We normally ask, let us know where you are this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are, if people are online watching it. Do you just want to give a very brief sort of idea of what the HEA is and the fellowship of the HEA, what that is for people?
So it's classed as Advanced HE. It was previously the Higher Education Academy, and it's a recognition of professional academic practice, and it's based on the UK Professional Standards Framework. So it's any academic can apply for it. They can either apply directly, but within our university, we've got our own scheme called Kudos, and we can mentor them and review them. And those submissions, if we award the associate fellowship, senior fellowship, or principal fellowship, if we choose, if we award it within locally at the university, the Advanced HE will honour it, and they'll get that status. So I've myself and the rest of Colt, I've got a senior fellow. I'm trying to write my principal fellow, but with current circumstances, it's finding the time. But my dean, Professor Phil Greystock, he's got a PF, so is Professor Megan Lawton, and they've been brilliant in terms of championing us to look and see if we can get to actually expand our expertise and trying to get the principal fellowship as well. So it's something that we offer in the university, but it is accredited by the Advanced HE.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I've just noticed we've got a comment. We'll say good morning. Cal's back online with us today watching. Cal was on a couple of weeks ago with his session. Yeah, if anybody wants to watch any of the other videos from the other week, Cal gave us a fantastic presentation a couple of weeks ago. Okay, let's go back to some of the other things that you've been doing then, and the other projects that you've been sort of working on.
So this was sort of the current practice. So the database support, training and teaching that we were doing, so the projects that were coming on. The EMA project is huge, and I'll talk a bit more about that later on as well, what we're trying to achieve with that. And then you know, the small matter of a global pandemic came about and things increased. Like for many people in universities and higher education, further education, and any kind of business, it's all changed. And there's no denying, you know, the impact that this has had globally is absolutely devastating. But I think, you know, it's opened up people's imaginations and eyes in terms of how they can run a business, how they can deliver education. So with some things that we've got on here, what we're hoping to do is you know, going back to that cultural change, is what's going to happen after COVID-19. You know, how are we going to change our practices? Not in case of, you know, we get another pandemic or anything like that, but more of a case of the benefits that we're seeing now of our students by delivering things online and using technology. So the masterclass sessions, which were a staff development session, which we're going to do, which we're coming up to do soon, which I'll talk about them in a moment. Canvas as an instructor have been brilliant in terms of you know, getting things out like the Teams integration, the new rich content editor, which is there. So we've really sort of capitalized on those sort of things. So we've integrated Teams. We've got a Big Blue Button premium license, which we're utilizing. Office 365, which we're hoping to integrate very, very soon, which would give the students the collaboration tools I think they need. Yeah. And I'm looking at trialing the Respondus lockdown monitor for a very small sample of distance exams, just to see what we can actually do with that for the future. So just to go into some of these areas here, if I just close my presentation down and go back, because I want to show you the courses rather than the actual bits and pieces. So let me just go into the, it was open, but I've moved it. So with the feedback that we've had, not only from our deans, from the faculties, but from our academics, again, you know, giving them an idea of what we want to try and do and getting feedback from them. We're doing a series of masterclasses around these three main areas for the time being, but they will expand to, you know, flipped learning, icebreakers, you know, pedagogical discussions. It might be Turnitin. So it's a mix of technology, but also pedagogical processes that we want to include. So, so as I say, that these are three discussions that we're utilizing. If I show you this one, so the masterclasses are a series of videos that we're encouraging the academics to watch first, and these are produced in Panopto and then put in a kind of playlist here. And these are all embedded into a discussion forum. So we can get our staff to watch the Panopto videos, learn some of the things that we're going to be talking about. They can ask questions via the discussion, but also we're going to do it for a live session, which will incorporate all of COLT, and people can come in and ask questions about the videos that are there. So if they want to take things further, if they want to, you know, give examples, well, how can I, you know, engage 100 students in a module or whatever it might be, we'll be there live and actually talk to them via Teams and encourage that dialogue within their discussions as well. So that's one of the things what we're doing within the sort of the training element of, you know, post-COVID and going through. I
really like that. Actually, I'm just thinking it's that opportunity, isn't it, for, you know, with the situation everybody's in, that asynchronous ability to learn and do something, but also then to put the connection in place for them to have that. I really like that idea. That's nice.
And we're hoping that, you know, that they'll, as I say, that they can come back to these resources. We'll reuse these resources again. We will hopefully, from the discussions below and from the teams, will generate, you know, further FAQs that will become another resource. So we're really trying to, you know, create something that is, you know, fully fledged, so we can not only explore the technology aspect, but also explore the pedagogical reasons, back it up by research, and also back it up by case studies as well. So it's that holistic approach. Even when, you know, when you're talking on something as simple as a discussion, you know, why would you want to have a discussion in your Canvas course? Well, this is how you do it. These are the benefits, and this is the research supports it. So we're really kind of bringing all that together as well. So that well, I think next week we're doing the first one. John drew the short straw, and he's got his first one next week. So we'll all be involved in that one, which will be good.
Yep.
But the other thing that I mentioned in that slide was the notion of virtual conferences. Obviously, we can't all sit in a conference at the moment. It's very challenging to do those sort of things. So I reached out on Twitter. I can't remember when it was. And you replied, you got contacts. Is it Marcus?
Marcus Schneider, Karlstad University. Fantastic guy.
Yeah. So I wanted to know, has anyone used a Canvas course to do a virtual conference and deliver a virtual conference? This is something that we've never done within the university, and certainly we've not done it within a Canvas course. And I think this is also a massive shout out to the Canvas community as well. Not only did you respond, I had Marcus and Eddie who do the Canvas podcast. They responded, they shared it. It's that notion of sharing that information and that support, which I think is really a real benefit to Canvas as well. You can ask a question and it gets shared, and people will come up with a really good response. So I spoke to Marcus, asking him his advice, and he gave me lots of wonderful tips and sort of benefits. So we delivered a research conference, which only happened a couple of weeks ago, purely on Canvas. It's part of a research week. There's a poster presentation, so the attendees can view the posters. There's things like discussion forums. There's also the poster competition as well. But everything was delivered over the 2 days using Big Blue Buttons. So people signed up to the course. They could go in. They could choose a session here. So we've even got Professor Jeff Lair, who's our VC, presenting on Big Blue Button to the attendees. And we had a positive conference. It was a really good conference, and as I say, this was only 2 days. And Jill Morgan, who's my colleague who works in the research policy unit, she not really used Canvas before because there was never really any need to for her role, and she did all this completely all by herself with a bit of support from Colt, just about how you would go about delivering a virtual conference using a Canvas course. So that's something that we're looking at doing more. And then this sorry, go on.
I think the conference thing is it is a big thing at the moment. I'm going to do a bit of sort of self-promotion here, sort of thing, on the side of things as well. We've had to make that that decision, like you say, with the current situation. We've spoken earlier of how we did have the pleasure of meeting at one of the Instructure conferences. We've had the opportunity to go to CanvasCon in some some nice places and meet people from all over the world. That's great. And I think, yes, the locations are nice, but the big thing about it is the learning and the meeting the other people and that collaboration. And if that can't happen, we need to look at the other ways of doing it. And I know for us in October, we were looking at hosting our CanvasCon, and we were looking it would have been, I think, next week, we would have been hosting InstructureCon as well in the US. But we've had to combine that ourselves. And basically, sort of bring it to an online conference as well. So what I'll do is I'll just do some promotion here. If anybody is interested,
I'll let you.
in CanvasCon, I've put the link on the screen for everyone, and and you can look at sort of some of the events there, and we'll have lots of institutions like the University of Wolverhampton talking about their stories and journeys there as well, so people can register on that link if need be. Okay, I'll hide that one. But no, I love the idea of the online conferences, and Marcus, who you're talking about, I did have the pleasure of working with him on some of their conferences in the past at Karlstad University. Beautiful location, Karlstad as well. I don't know if anybody's ever been there.
I talked to him, I was hinting for a visit, but it just
well, quite interestingly, how you have these stories that link things, and we cannot go off on these random things. Karlstad, where it is in Sweden, has got some beautiful landscape near there, and 10 years ago, I went canoeing there with my wife. So we went into Karlstad, we spent a night in Karlstad, and then we went and spent a week in the wilderness, on the lake, so, you know, sort of canoeing there. And seeing as we're talking about wolf that you had in the past, one of the places where we got out of the water, you know, we heard wolves one night as well, but one of the places where we got out of the water, there was a fresh footprint in the mud. And I know you've got a dog, and you know the size of the footprints. This was a large footprint, and I did study biology, so I know it wasn't a bear. But yeah, there was, we probably weren't too far away from a rather large wolf. Beautiful place. Yeah.
Rather you than me.
Okay.
So just the other thing I want to show as well in terms of the sort of conferences. So each year the architecture department has a physical conference stroke exhibit. So they invite companies to come around and look at students' work and their poster presentations and their 3D modeling. Again, because of COVID-19, it's just not possible. So I've been working with Dave Heason and Paul Bowden, who are two fantastic colleagues in that department. And this is a very draft. No one's really ever seen this yet. So this is still a draft form. But what we want to do with this, and the reason why I want to show this, is sort of the power of what you can do with pages. So this is the idea with this is going to be a virtual conference. It'll be live a few days beforehand. Companies can navigate round the final design projects. They can look at the design briefs, etc. But what I want to show is that, as I say, the power of the ability to embed into a page. So I think we have 3 Matterport laser scanners. So this allows the ability to laser scan a building and actually, you know, dive in and do. You can actually have a view this in VR. So you can actually have it in a VR headset. But you could dive in. So this is one of the buildings. I believe it's the old post office in Wolverhampton. So what the students would get is they would get this laser scan and say, right, okay, here's your design brief. What you're going to do with this building, pretty much. So they can work on this and look at this information. But then if I just go into one of the test students that we're looking to use, is they can then generate.
Sorry, Paul, I've just lost my audio. Battery's gone on my headphones, so completely unprofessional. We'll just plug a cable in. Hopefully people can still hear me.
Do you want me to carry on?
Bear with me 1 second, sir. I apologize for this. Let me go to my audio settings. Okay, can you talk to me, Paul, and I can see if I've got you back.
So can you hear me okay, or?
Oh dear, no, I've lost my audio, which makes everything really good fun. What we'll do is the professionalism of all of this. I'm hoping you can still hear me, even though I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Do we know if everyone else can hear us?
Yes. Oh dear. Problem we had was the batteries have just gone on my headphones, which I was using. So I'm just going to see if I can connect to. I know you can hear me.
Yeah. Can you still hear me?
Let's try with that. Can you talk to me again, Paul?
Yeah. Can you hear me all right, or is it still not playing up?
Oh dear.
It's still not working.
Right. The challenges of technology and the fact that I can't seem to switch this to go for my other audio. I'll try again with this one. If not, do you want to keep talking, Paul, about this? I'm hoping you're going to say nice things about this to everybody else. So just give everybody that and I'll try and get myself sorted.
That's fine. Hopefully that people can hear me. Fingers crossed. So where was I? So as I say, the idea then with this, they could view the Matterport, the laser scan, of a particular building, and then students can build things like this, the 3D model that then are able to expand. But with this particular course, it'll be a public course, so companies and businesses, far and wide, will be able to go into this course and actually see students' work and how they've been developing it. And it just shows you the sort of the power of what you can actually do and embed these sort of wonderful objects that students are going to create, or there can be resources that staff can utilize and actually develop as well. So we're looking at creating this virtual conference. This is going to happen quite soon for the students as well. And yeah, it's that shift again from the physical and the face-to-face to moving things online in a quite, in many ways, in a quite a quick fashion. I think if Jonathan still probably can't hear me, I'm not too sure if he can, but I'll move through what I was going to say, and then Jonathan can jump in if he needs to as well.
Sorry, Paul. It looks like unless I actually leave my browser, I can't reset my audio on this. So what I'm going to do is I am going to open up another browser window, and I'm going to actually go and try and view our stream online and see if I can hear you.
That's cool.
Which is a little bit frustrating for everybody.
Well, I'll keep carrying on then. The joys of technology. Hey, so one of the other things that I mentioned in the presentation was the principles of online learning, teaching, and assessment. So these have been designed by Professor Phil Greystock, who's my dean within the College of Learning and Teaching, and we were sort of requested, we need to give support for our students and our academics to support our students for semester 1 2020. But what it came to sort of really understand and what it actually established was these principles should sort of take place anyway, even without the horrible pandemic that is COVID. These principles are designed for any kind of online teaching. And in many ways, nothing's really changed. So I'll quickly go through some of these. And the way they're being designed is we've got the sort of implications of what will happen for September, but the principle itself obviously will remain. So designed for the whole course, not the individual modules. And something that we want to do in the future, we're hoping to do, is to utilize Portfolium, which I'll talk about a little bit later on as well. Know your outcomes. Keep your students engaged and moving through these. Again, provide ways for students to evidence their learning throughout the course. Again, focusing on the idea that we need to connect the modules that are currently going on and connect the courses that are going on, but bringing a lot of skills that the students can have from co-curricular courses, other committees, and other societies as well, which what we're hoping Portfolium will do, which I'll talk a bit more about that later on. So I'm going to go. I seem to be leading this presentation at the moment, so I'm going to go back into my slides, and hopefully you can still see this. And I'm going to go.
Okay.
Oh, Jonathan, can you hear me? Okay. Or
how are we doing, Paul?
Yeah, I'm just entertaining. I'm just having coffee and talking to everyone.
You are a true professional. I think there's a massive delay in terms of sort of when things come through at the moment. So I'm not sure how quick this is. Unfortunately for
what I'll do, Jonathan, I'll keep carrying on.
Yeah, I'm in the situation of the audio not working and not reconnecting for me, unfortunately. Yeah, if you can carry on, Paul, that'd be great. And if you'd like to talk through Portfolium with people, I'll stay quiet, and then I'll try and pop the questions up later on. So I'll let you host this.
No worries. Okay, so The new norm as a term that keeps getting bandied about quite a lot, which is a horrible term. The new norm. It's obviously what we're continuing to do in terms of our rollout of Canvas and our utilization of Canvas, all the integrations that we currently have, but also things that we're progressing through as well. So I mentioned earlier about the rollout of VMA, which I'm going to touch on in a moment. We are actually looking at having a Canvas catalog pilot. So the catalog, for those people that don't know, is very much like a shop window where you can put certain courses up that external people to your university can subscribe to, maybe pay for, and then get access to your Canvas instance, and then you'll see all the wonderful interactive data and the abilities that you need to have. The pilot was originally set to be quite a small pilot for a few courses. But obviously, due to COVID-19, we're actually, there's actually been more demand potentially to do more things with catalog going forward. So hopefully that'll be really quite interesting. And then the other big one that we're looking for next year, and we're currently rolling out now, is Portfolium. So we are one of the first, I believe, one of the first universities to have access to Portfolium or to purchase Portfolium. And what we want to do with Portfolium, which I'll come show you in a moment, is that notion of bringing in that connection between the modules. So again, going back to the principles that a module shouldn't be done in a static way, or a course should be done in a static way. Portfolium hopefully will be the thread that binds them together, and students can evidence what they're trying to do for their milestones or the requirements. But I'll touch on a bit more about that in a moment. And then because of the nature of, we still don't know what's going to be happening in September. We still don't know, we're hearing about localized lockdowns at the moment. So there is a demand for more online delivery of blended learning courses. Some students will be back in our institution, we are hoping, but certainly not all. So there's got to be a way of obviously students engaging with their learning content and having some sort of learning and education online. So if I just show you some of these courses that will trigger, and we'll sort of mention. So EMA, what we're doing is we're mapping our whole electronic management assessment with the Joint Information Systems Committee, JISC lifecycle. So we will hopefully have full EMA by next year. So that's the ability of having our assignments pulled from our student management system into Canvas, which we already have, with the correct weighting, due date, any students that have extra time, etc. It will also auto-generate a quiz sort of structure, so then the academic can just add in their questions, and then work through. Excuse me. I was going to sneeze, but I'm not. Work through all the information that we have, and actually pass grades and feedback pass grades into our student management system at correct times. All marking will be done online, and that is something that we're really hopeful for next year. It'll completely utilize and be integrated from Canvas into SITS. Their draft grade will go from Canvas into SITS as draft once it's been reviewed, etc., by the committees that we have and the processes that we have, and any penalties or that might be applied, like late policy or whatever it might be. That final grade will then get passed back into Canvas, and there's been an awful lot of work regarding this as well, and we're currently still developing that. So it's a huge project. And again, it focuses on the lessons that we learned from the cultural change, way back when we actually launched Canvas, because as everyone will know, assessment and feedback and marking online is more of a cultural change in many ways than a technical piece. The technology's there, it's getting some of the policy maybe updated, getting the processes correctly sorted, but also encouraging the academics that this is the best way in the direction of travel that we need to do. As I mentioned in the slide as well, Portfolium. So I haven't played with it too much, but I'm really excited about it. The the information that we have on there and the things that we can actually do with Portfolio seem to really fit with the idea that we should be designing for a program and potentially use Portfolio to connect those different courses. And it allows students to evidence things like their, again, it's not a particularly nice term, soft skills that a lot of businesses sort of require and want to see. So communication, time management, those sort of things can be evidenced, but not necessarily just from their modules and their assessments. They could be evidenced by their work experience. They could be evidenced by, their committees or their societies that they're part of as well. So we really want to see the benefits of Portfolio. What we're hoping to do with Portfolio as well is the ability to almost really get the academics to think about what they want to do as a pathway for their portfolio. Because just like designing a Canvas course, what we recommend is you shouldn't just sit in front of Canvas and build it. You need to plan, you need to digest, you need to reflect. When a student's going to need to do certain things. So what we want the academics to do is really go back to their learning outcomes and what are their requirements they want the students to do? What are the things they want the students to achieve, and how are they going to get to their milestones? And from that, then the academics will be able to design a really robust pathway that then the students can utilize and sort of develop their own e-portfolio. And as I say, from what I've seen and played around very briefly with Portfolio, Portfolio it's a really fantastic tool. There's some really nice things you can build in there, and certainly the network, which I think is going to be really positive. So we're looking forward to developing that for the future. So Jonathan, I'm going to shut up now because obviously there's a bit of a delay.
I may actually be back, Paul. I may be back. So we're there. Apologies for that, everyone, and thanks, Paul, for being the true professional that you are. And I think it highlights that situation of technology. This is probably user error on my behalf, and I'm hoping that I've just given these a quick charge, and hopefully they won't drop out. Unfortunately, it seems that the streaming system we use won't let me switch audio whilst within the stream, and I didn't want to end that on you and cut you off. So you've been talking about sort of Portfolio there and the new ways of moving forward, and that ability for sort of students to obviously show their skills and everything they're doing. And I think I got cut off as well whilst you were talking about the architecture exhibition as well. And I think from my perspective and trying to listen as we've sort of dealt with the live TV situation, I suppose there. I love that idea of being able to show the work that students are obviously doing. And like you said, that the connections part of that in terms of the students and that moving forward is going to be huge. And I'm thinking on the architecture thing, there's so many examples of where that could be applied as well, isn't there? I think sort of we both like our photography a little bit, and I'm thinking students in all those different circumstances being able to do their exhibitions that way and showcase their work, which is lovely. And then, like you're saying, that ability then with Portfolio to sort of align that with skills and to take that forward in the future and present that, and it lives with them in the future to be able to sort of demonstrate their skills when the students move into the world of work. I think is fantastic.
I think you can look at all sectors here as well, in terms of with Portfolio to develop their portfolio of work and their work experience from nursing to engineering to whatever it might be. But my background, actually, I studied sculpture, and you look at things like Instagram and Facebook, and people can create a very quick website on their mobile phone of their artwork. And I think more and more students are going to realize that it's not about taking the essence away from their painting or their sculpture or from the glasswork, but it's more about networking and showcasing their work on a virtual exhibit like this, which we're using Canvas, or whatever means it might be, and it will promote their work far more effectively than maybe just in a gallery. And you look at things like gallery websites now, they're doing walkthroughs, they're doing virtual exhibits, museums are as well. So it goes together hand in hand as people progress.
Yeah, definitely. And even sort of the tourism side of things, isn't it? Like you say, you know, cities and things, and how technology is giving people the opportunity to see different places in that sort of virtual situation. Yeah, definitely. I agree completely on that. I'm conscious of the time and the little mishap that we had there with the audio, and there are people watching us online. What I wanted to do was take the opportunity to see if anybody does have any questions online about the things that you've shown there today, and the way that, you know, the University of Wolverhampton's moving forward. So we'll give people a little option to see if there's any questions. Sometimes people get a little bit shy and they don't ask, or they're actually watching this sort of later today. So unless we can do some sort of time travel type, sort of Back to the Future type thing, what is it? We don't need roads where we're going. We'll see what people come up with. I know we've got Jessica Jones online, actually, who has been very helpful, because she's saying hi and letting people know that she could actually hear you whilst I was off. So good morning, Jess. If people don't know Jess, she works in the same team as me, and she's been on some of the live streams earlier as well. And I think she also met us for the first time in Keystone in Colorado as well.
Yes. Higher education.
Yeah. Okay, so it doesn't look like we've got any questions coming in from anybody. I wanted to thank you for your time today, Paul. I really appreciate that. You know, you've shown us some really great things, and the stuff that your team and the people that you're working with and the teachers at Wolverhampton is absolutely fantastic. And you know, that's sort of blown me away a little bit with the you know, the architecture side of things. I just think that's really cool, and the openness of that is of how you've embedded the things there is just fantastic. So we'll just see. We might have a question coming in. Just not posted properly there. Okay, what we'll do is we'll call it a day for today. If anybody's got any questions, we'll try and have a look in the channel for I'll try and look on social media to try and answer those afterwards. And what we'll do is I'll pick those up with the other people that are online later. But it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Paul. Thank you for your time once again. And we'll see everybody else online in 2 weeks' time, Thursday morning, 9:30 UK time. So I think that's Central Summer time now. So 10:30 Central Summer time for Europe. And I have no idea what time that will be for the people that are watching from Australia and that side of things. But we'll get people in. So thank you very much, Paul. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Cheers, Jonathan. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye, everyone.